have to come up with a better definition that includes the whole of the Aravallis. The 100-meter thing was something that had, in fact, worried a lot of environmentalists.
You know, apart from environment, I think the Aravallis would also have heaved a huge sigh of relief, Verghese, based on the judgment, the recent stay, which the Chief Justice of India, along with his two other judges, have put. The Supreme Court has stayed its own November 20th order, which has triggered a massive protest by environmentalists, saying that the Supreme Court acceptance of the definition of that any mountain which is less than 100 meters will not be considered part of Aravalli and will not be treated as mountain is something which had triggered a lot of protest, because this was seen as a real threat to the Aravalli range. And you know, there were a lot of pressure, a lot of protests which were being done. And today the case was listed during the winter vacation of the Supreme Court. And you know, after Kuldeep Singh Sengar's judgment, which has brought a huge sigh of relief to society at large, I think this another public interest judgment which has been given by the Chief Justice of India, in which he has stayed the Supreme Court's own November 20th order. And what we have been given to understand is that that notices have been issued to Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan and other states seeking their replies, and the case is next slated to be heard on 21st of January. But I think it's a big day as far as the Aravalli's mountain ridge is concerned, Aravalli mountains are concerned, because there was a lot of pressure. I think the most contentious issue was that the government had a petition before the Apex Court, which was accepted by the Apex Court, is that anything which is less than 100 meters would not be considered Aravallis, mountains of Aravallis. And this is the reason why many believe that we might be witnessing a complete absorption of Aravalli ridge, and it's going to be extremely bad as far as the environment is concerned. But now the Supreme Court has stayed its own order, and it is going to be seen as a big win for all those who are protesting against the judgment which is given by the Supreme Court.
This particular definition, in fact, had put a lot of hills, or rather formations, under danger, especially when it came to mining. And it also, the government had argued that these areas do have certain mineral deposits that would, in fact, boost the economy. But right now, it looks like all that will be halted. The high-intensity economic activity around Aravallis could be halted for now. But again, there is this big question. How do you define the Aravallis? And now it looks like the court might ask for a better understanding and a better definition for this.
Yes, absolutely. I think, what will happen is that, what was one of the trigger point for this reaction was that the expert committee which has submitted its report was also not in favor of mountains which are less than 100 meters to be designated as something which is not part of the Aravalli region, also that it will not be treated as mountains, was something which was also opposed by the expert committee. So it was surprising that the government of India pushed for it, and it was accepted by the Supreme Court. At that point of time, Justice Gawai was the Chief Justice of India, and this acceptance of the definition given put forth by the central government met with a lot of criticism, and it was criticized by everyone, environmentalists, people at large, and also given the kind of times we live in with AQIs touching 1,000 points. So one thing is very clear, that this particular judgment, which was given by the former Chief Justice of India on November 20th, 2025, right, has been stayed by the current Chief Justice of India.
Right. We're also now joined in by Sanjay Chadha, legal expert, who in fact also will give us an understanding about how to view this particular staying of the order. Sanjay Chadha, we have seen a lot of questions being raised upon that particular definition of what constitutes the hills or what constitutes the mountains in Aravallis. It is a very important formation geographically, but legally, how do you in fact view the problems with defining that particular aspect of that geographical formation, and how much does the government need to go back to the drawing board to define this particular geographical formation?
I must say two things. One very crucial thing is we need a scientific and a common, common definition for the entire Aravallis. This is very important, because what is happening is you can't mold the definition as per the need. You have to see its impact. As I was talking to your channel earlier also, I told that how this Aravalli, the oldest mountain is important and relevant for the ecology, flora, fauna, biodiversity of this particular area. The entire range here, Delhi is also affected. Entire range means, if I may say, the entire Pradesh of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Delhi, and so on and so forth, Haryana. So all these are affected. So we need a more scientific definition, number one. Number two, the definition should be by why we should permit mining. Where is the need? We have seen in past thousands of acres of the land has been ruined by these miners. You can't make somebody rich, or some organization or people rich on the sake and which is affecting the entire landmass, which is affecting the entire ecology, which is affecting the entire population, biodiversity, in even the flora, fauna, the animals, everybody is affected. How can you do that?
Right. Sanjay Chadha, just trying to understand, while you're trying to just trying to understand how you're in fact trying to, you're saying that should be a very much comprehensive definition of the entire Aravallis, not just as a geographical formation, but probably even as an ecological zone, which is to say that the Aravallis need not be limited to just the mountain range. Whatever falls within the ecological zone or how it impacts the ecological zone should be treated within the definition of the Aravallis.
Very true, very true. That is what is the requirement, and I would say the need of the hour. Why it is the need of the hour? Otherwise, where we are heading, already you see the fate, the state of affairs in Delhi, how it is happening. 20 years back, this was not there. The state of pollution, which we are seeing every day rising and causing thousands of people affected every day. So all these steps are very, very important, and I feel today's action by Supreme Court, which is a suo motu, we should not forget this. The court has already made up its mind. It was just a formality that the court, and that is what had happened today also. The court sat, took up the case, and passed an order against its own earlier order. 20th November, the court had passed an order whereby accepted the definition which was given by the committee, as you were rightly saying. But now the court has, proper understanding of the situation was done, and when we saw that the people at large are now agitating, they are absolutely unhappy because of this. So that is the reason the court today took this decision, and it is a bold step. I must congratulate Supreme Court for this.
Also, why do you think, like the Aravallis, we have a lot of smaller mountain ranges and all that, but the mining mafia tends to in fact focus on these hills and as well as these mountains? Why is it that they would in fact go for such formations?
Look, very important is, these ranges have the oldest mines of this country. Oldest mine, rather, of the world are lying in this. And this particular area is very rich in terms of the minerals, copper. I cannot name all of them here. So this particular belt is very rich as far as the minerals. And of course, those stones, this Taj Mahal and everything is, all the stones are taken from this range only. So stones are there. So lot of mining people, a very few handful people have their stakes here. And they are minting money. Crores of rupees have been earned by these people who are involved in these activities. So the requirement is that we have to take a holistic view, number one. Number two, we have to see that the most scientific definition of the entire Aravalli, if something is happening, it has impact all across. If I may say, we have been, from the childhood, we've been, even in NCRT, we have seen that Aravalli acts as a barrier for Thar from spreading eastward. We must, and everybody remembers that. So what will happen if we, that 100-meter criteria which has been given by in the new definition, and not only that particular criteria, but also there is another criteria if there are two mountains, and then so it's a complex definition if you go. So we need a scientific, elaborated, covering the entire mountain of Aravalli. Such definition is needed, which is eco-friendly, which is environmental friendly, which is for everybody of this country. That's what I feel.
So
And I think,
yes, go ahead.
and I feel that we are going to see in the near future that the court will have to jump in, court will have to act as a prehari of the fundamental rights. It isn't fundamental right. So the clean environment is my right. Clean environment is my right. We should not forget it. Clean environment is my fundamental right under Article 21. Right to life covers this particular, what you call, right or fundamental right.
Also, Sanjay Chadha, now when we are talking about stakeholders in this, of course, the government is the one who's brought in this kind of a definition. But how many people who are dependent on these hills were consulted when they, in fact, went ahead for a definition of this? It's mostly by experts within the government and probably the environmentalists that few of them could have been on that. So this requires more comprehensive. The local communities also should have a say in how this definition is, in fact, put across. Exactly.
As far as the stakeholders are concerned, we need to see who are the people who are living there, number one. Number two, what will be the impact of, the mining, the deforestation? What is the impact? We have to foresee. We need to have in that panel the environmentalists. We need to have, government has to involve all the environmental ministry. Such a huge ministry is there. What they are doing. This kind of definition, which is totally, I'm sorry to say, I was reading it somewhere that our environmental minister has said that only 1.09% of the area of Aravalli will be covered under the, if at all, in the new definition for mining. You know how much that 1.09% is? It is more than the total area of NCR. Just see how it has an impact. So I feel this is a right step, good step by the government, and now we will have to really see it further, how the case turns further.
The issue about Aravalli Hills will have impact on other mountainous ranges as well, which face the same problems like the unfettered mining, and at the same time the kind of lack of proper definition about it. Western Ghats has been facing the same issue. The lower hills of the Himalayas have been facing. Do you think this is going to be the very aspect of this case, or the Aravalli, the protection that Aravallis would get, would later define policies on these hill ranges as well?
Wonderful question, I must say. Wonderful. Why? Because I myself belong to Shivalik range. I'm from Uttarakhand, and I have seen how the entire ranges are being so badly, used. Rather, used is not the correct word. Misused by these individuals who are doing this for their own benefit. You have seen how we are seeing that all those tragedies which are happening every time now, flooding is happening, all those repercussions which are there for all the destruction which is being done. I use this term destruction, and I think it is very aptly and very correctly used by me. They are destructing our mountains. The lower Shivalik is being chopped off by these people who are just doing it for their own self.
So I think legally every process has been, fought legally in this particular case, especially when it comes to the policy decisions that's been challenged. But there seem to be a mechanism within the system to actually take care of all these things. So it looks like the people have to actually fight to maintain certain policies, or rather to ensure environmental stability. This is the way. Should that be part of how governance should be, or rather it should have taken the issues regarding, especially when it comes to Aravallis, the issues regarding the people first with regard to the definition of the Aravallis first, and it shouldn't have in fact moved to the courts to be challenged.
Exactly, I totally agree with you. It should have been done by the government itself. It was the duty of the government, and I have no doubt saying that governments have failed. You know, governments have failed. Not this government only, but the previous governments have also failed. Why this Ministry of Forest? Why this Ministry of Environment was made in 1984? Why it was made? It was made with the only reason was to help the ecology to remain in its own shape. But the impact you are seeing, we have to take help of the court. We have seen Justice Kuldeep Singh forming a green bench. What is happening in so many things are still not on track. But we have to begin it for our future generation. We have to really adopt the methodology which is given in sustainable development, the concept of sustainable development.
Right. Well, thank you, Sanjay Chadha, for in fact speaking to us and giving us a complete understanding of it. With that, it's a wrap on this edition, but stay tuned to News 9 for further news updates.